All right, so the last thing we're gonna learn how to cut today is actually onions. I know this one can be tricky for a lot of individuals, so we're gonna learn how to slice and dice an onion. So to start off, what we wanna do is we wanna make sure we cut off both ends. So with this, with this end, we're gonna cut off completely. Get rid of all this stuff. And then we're gonna, the other end, we don't wanna completely cut off. We actually just wanna trim it a little bit. So we wanna leave that intact. And then obviously you wanna take off the outside part. I won't spend time doing that. I actually have one here that's already has the skin taken off. So with that then, obviously you can see we have the trimmed root part of it. So I'm gonna cut this in half. Cut it in half. So the first way to dice an onion would be to, I'm gonna set that over here, would be we wanna have it kind of like this. So the trimmed end is over here, and then we have the kind of more trimmed end on this side. And we're gonna start by doing, whatever the thickness that you want, but doing a couple cuts throughout, having our hand flat on top like this. And we don't want to go all the way to the end. We just want to go almost like 3/4 of the way through. All right, that was one. Since this is a smaller onion, I'll probably just do 2 or 3. My knife needs sharpened, I think. All right, so we have kind of those 3 cuts that are about 3/4 of the way through. The next thing, so you can see that this part, the root part, is kind of holding it in place. The next thing, since we're dicing, is we're gonna go ahead and do, continue to do strips. So I'm gonna, again, do 3/4 of the way. I'm gonna use kind of the pinching technique to get, so we're gonna kind of use the tip of our knife to do all the way down, but only 3/4 of the way towards the tip. All right, one more. Ooh, see, you can see it starting to come apart. And then now, all we have to do is the last one, and as we cut through, you can see how it dices nicely here. So, oops, it started to slide, that was my fault. Now, for this, obviously, you can't do the rolling technique very well. You have to do more of that up and down to a degree motion. Now, as we get closer, obviously, we don't want to cut our fingers, so you get to a point where you have this, so you can either dispose of this, or my preference is then I'll actually cut off the part that we don't want, and then continue to slice from there. All right, so you can see with that first technique, you might have to pull some apart, but for the most part, it's all a nice dice there. The other way that I like to do it, I'm gonna scoot this out of the way, that I like to cut onions is I use a lot of the pinching technique, so I'll actually go ahead and cut off that part that we don't want. We'll get rid of that. Then I will use a pinching technique to kind of cut strips. Always want to make sure you have the safe cut. This one can be maybe a little bit more dangerous, so the other one's definitely going to be your probably safer version. And then, so since now I have these strips, you could either take that and separate them, or I'm going to line them back up, continue to anchor, and you can use that rolling technique depending on how big the onion is. Obviously, if it's a bigger one, it'll be a little bit more difficult, but you can use that rolling technique to a degree to get some more slices here. So you can see how that looks. Now I'll go ahead and sometimes as things fall off, they can just have to dice a little bit more. We'll continue. All right, and that's how you chop an onion. It was great working with you guys today. Oops. It was great working with you guys today, and I look forward to your feedback and hope to post a few more videos in the weeks to come. Thanks.